Name that bass line.
Name that bass line.
Name that bass line, or suffer the consequences.
Good morning, YouTube! It's the 7th edition of the game that asks you to name that bass line. You don't have to be a bassist to play, but it sure increases your odds in Vegas. That was our brand new opening you just saw, featuring all 3 of our guest bassists. Don't let Troy frighten you. There are no consequences for guessing wrong. Only shame. Let me start off by welcoming all our new subscribers. We've picked up about 50 since last week. I was going to mention you all by name, but that would be really boring. But in all sincerity, let me just say I'm happy to have you, and no, I am not the result of a gene splicing experiment between Kramer and Barton Fink gone wrong. Last week's episode sparked a few comments that I wanted to respond to. A couple of viewers were kind enough to point out some mistakes that I made. First, I had listed Cubby Fink as the bassist on Pumped Up Kicks. However, JNL9363 wrote,
"Actually, Mark Foster played bass on Pumped Up Kicks. He played all the instruments on it, as he was just making a demo, but his version was the one that got released."
My apologies to Mark Foster for denying you credit on that awesome bass line. And Cubby Fink, you should be ashamed of yourself for not saying anything and just basking in all the glory. Okay, next comment. This one came to me from Bongoed Bass, who wrote, "I like your show, man. It's pretty fun. But you should make sure you have your bass lines note for note before you post these. You do a hammer-on from E to F in Suck My Kiss, and that riff is outlining a D9 sus chord, so that E is going to sound really bad." Well, Bongoed Bass, I went back and listened to the studio version of Suck My Kiss, and you are correct. I put a note in there that Flea did not. But let me tell you something, sir or madam. I may not have Flea's talent or his knowledge of music theory. I may not have his wealth or his good looks. But you know what I do have? I've got heart. And doesn't that count for something in this miserable world? My mother didn't scrub floors to put me through the Albert Merrill School of Music and Automobile Repair for this. So I hope you're happy, because I'm not going to play any more Chili Peppers bass lines now. And you can all thank Bongoed Bass for that. Kidding aside, I'm playing these bass lines to the best of my ability. If it's different from what you're used to hearing, I'm sorry. Feel free to write me an angry comment, or better yet, write your congressman. Okay, with that out of the way, let's play Name That Bass Line. If you don't know how the game works, the guest bassist and I are going to play pieces from 10 signature bass lines from 10 different artists. See if you can guess what they are. If you're really stumped, there'll be some clues along the way, and I'll have the answers at the end of the video, along with a list of the bassists who played on the original recordings. Something new this week, as many of you know, we lost Donald Duck Dunn a few weeks ago. Duck was a big hero of mine, as well as a very respected player around the world. So in his honor, the first slot on the show will be a Duck signature bass line. I'm calling it Duck Dunn on the 1. You might recognize this one from the Blues Brothers movie. Here we go. I wonder who this next bass line could be from. Here's bass line number 2. The bassist on this next one said he wrote this part while he was lying on the ground in a heroin stupor. Here's bass line number 3. Okay, now it's time for the Fab Four bass line of the week, which is usually a Beatles bass line. It's played by Sir Paul McCartney. He likes to bob his head, and I don't really do impressions, so we'll edit that out. But here's bass line number 4. was just a minor spasm, I'm fine. These are all easy so far, right? This next one is played at a lot of sporting events. Here's bass line number 5. Bass lines number 6 and 7 are part of the "Our Frontman is on heroin and/or cocaine" portion of the show, so if you're snorting or shooting up at home, please get your drugs ready. I'll wait. Here's bass line number 6. And hopefully by this point in the show, your crack pipe is hot enough to burn the nearest hoe. So here's bass line number 7. Okay, my doctor said I shouldn't play more than 7 bass lines in one day. It's an old war injury. So I've enlisted the help of some of my YouTube buddies. As you saw in the opening, these are 3 of the most popular players on YouTube, and with good reason. First up is Troy Hughes, also known as TJH3113. Troy is a very talented bassist from upstate New York, and his channel is like bass porn for Rush fans. Check it out if you haven't already. What do you have for us today, Troy? Thanks, Troy. I kind of like lazing around while you do all the work. During your bass line, I use the time to catch up on back episodes of Whitney. Here's a clickable link that will open up Troy's channel page in a separate window. I promise this link will not take you to a Nigerian Ponzi scheme. Do subscribe to Troy or suffer the consequences. We'll see Troy again next week with another all-new bass line for us to name. Next up, we have the very awesome David Caraccio, better known on YouTube as Davidson Rocks. David has built up quite an empire for himself here on YouTube, sort of like the Donald Trump of bassists, if Donald wasn't a complete douche. So once again, all the way from Switzerland, here's David Caraccio with bass line number 9.
Name that bass line!
Thank you, David. If for some ungodly reason you haven't yet subscribed to David's channel, here's a clickable link that will take you right to it. The sooner you subscribe, the sooner you'll be enjoying sweet, funky bliss. We'll have another bass line from David next week, so come on back. Batting in the cleanup spot, I give you Thomas Rizell, better known around these parts as Marlo DK. I probably don't need to tell you how incredible Thomas's work is on YouTube, and here's yet another example of that. With bass line number 10, here's the mighty Thomas Rizell.
1, 2, 3, 4. Name that bass line.
Wow, Thomas, you managed to stump me with that one. So naturally, I'll be spending the remainder of the day in the punishment corner. I have a hunch that everyone watching this has already subscribed to Marlo DK's channel, but just in case you've spent the last 10 years cryogenically frozen next to the head of Ted Williams, here's a clickable link that will take you right to his channel page. Do you have an idea for something you'd like to hear me tackle on Name That Bassline? If so, I'd like to know about it. Please email your suggestions to me at namethatbassline@aol.com, and if I use one on a future episode, you'll get a shout out right here on the show. Please don't post the suggestions in the comments section, because that would ruin the surprise for everyone, wouldn't it? That about wraps up episode 7 of Name That Bassline. Sincere thanks to my guests, Troy, David, and Thomas. They'll all be back next time. Stay tuned if you want the answers to today's bass lines, as well as the name of the bassists who originally played them. Oh, and please subscribe to my channel if you want to stay in the loop on when the next episode is available. Tell your friends, too. Thanks, and we'll see you next time. If you're still watching, then clearly you deserve a bonus bass line. But don't tell anyone. This'll be our little secret.